Hello everyone. Haven't done a video in quite a while. So I did a kiln opening today. It was too dark in the kiln room to do it there, so I've taken everything out. And I just wanted to talk about some of the glaze results. I have a few new glazes. Some of them are Georgies glazes that I've never tried. I've never tried any of theirs before. So there's not a lot of videos on YouTube referring to Georgie's glazes, so I kind of wanted to put this video out anyways and just talk about the three that I used and the good and the bad, I guess. Georgie's glazes mostly come in smaller containers, so you have to paint them on as opposed to buying dry glaze that you can dip. So, painting on glaze really isn't the most fun thing to do, especially when you're talking about vessels and anything other than flat, like tiles are easy to paint. But so I'm going to get into it here pretty quickly. Try not to go through too much, but yeah, I can't really get a good color on this. I'm trying to go in the sun with it, but it seems to look more yellow in the sun. It's Cool Lime Matte by Georgies on the outside. The emblem, the design there is actually a Jade Celadon. I don't really like the color combo. But on the interior I used matte black by Standard Ceramic. So the overlap of the matte black, which we probably can't even see at all, and the Cool Lime Matte really was the best thing about this. So it seems like most of the results I've had, it should have been the overlap that I did more so than anything. So if you can see that, it's kind of like a interesting sea green overlap that I got. But it's called Cool Lime Matte, and that's what it looks like on its own. Probably terrible lighting for this. It's an okay glaze, and not really excited about using it again except for that overlap. So here's another Georgie's glaze on the outside, Emerald Wood Ash, and it really does look like sort of either a gas fire or a wood fire as it's intended to look. But unfortunately it's mostly black. You can kind of see it does go to the green a little bit. Seems like it was more the thinner places where you got green. So the thicker areas were black, which is exactly the opposite of what I thought would happen. And this was Celadon, Jade Celadon, that's Amaco, just for the emblem. Not too sure if I like the different glazes that I put together, but it's Shino on the inside, and this glaze is really fantastic. I don't think you could say anything bad about it. I have never used it on this clay, and all of the pieces that I'm going to show just about are all this Desert Buff by Highwater. And I didn't think that the Shino would be as interesting as it is on this clay. It really has a lot of character, which you normally would get with like a speckled brown stoneware, but it just looks fantastic on this clay. So I'm probably going to be doing quite a bit of that. And what I wanted to mention was, most of the time Shino you will have underneath the glaze, and that's when you're going to get the best pulling and color change, is when the Shino is underneath. So the Shino is underneath here, and you can see the overlap right there of the Emerald Wood Ash is really fantastic, just that one line where it overlaps. So I would definitely do more of that, and you can see I did get some pitting and blistering, and I'm having a big problem with that with a lot of my glazes. This was a cone 6. I normally do 5. I decided to do a 6. I'm not really sure if it helped. I tried to slow down the cool time, but still got pretty much the same results with the pitting. I've been having this happen a lot. So this was the Emerald Wood Ash and Shino. It's a mug. It looks like, like a tree limb handle. It's a nice result. I'm not too happy with the fact that I used this blue Celadon on here. This is Coyote's Sapphire Celadon. And I'll show some better examples of it in a few minutes. And you can really see how that emerald wood ash breaks in such a weird way. I'm not real happy with how it really turns out. But it does give an interesting wood-fired, gas-fired look, especially coming out of an electric kiln. So here is Sapphire Celadon by Coyote. It's a very nice blue. It's much better than the Amaco sky blue that I've been using. Much more consistent looking. Where it pools, you do get a jewel-like look, as the name would imply. And it's Shino again on the inside. The overlap of the Shino and the Celadon wasn't that great. I thought it might be because it's both made by the same company. I should have taken the Celadon up and over the rim. That would have looked a lot nicer had I gone onto the interior of it. I started using Lapis Satin, also by Coyote. That's showing up real well. It's kind of washing out. It is a really beautiful blue-purple. I didn't really have too much trouble with the pitting this time. I did at the cone 5 that I did last time. And then Sapphire Celadons on the outside. The overlap of the Sapphire Celadon with the Lapis Satin is really nice. It seems like that Lapis Satin has a lot of potential for reacting underneath glazes. Probably just blurry on the screen. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get the best distance from the camera I can do. This is Cool Lime Matte again, and it seemed to be a little bit different on this piece. A little bit more of the lime came out, so that's by Georgies. And I kind of like the darker area, probably the thinner area, look the best. This is a flamingo mug. This is Amaco's Weeping Cherry Blossom, or just Weeping Cherry Celadon. It's a nice glaze, it's pretty reliable. But the Cool Lime Matte, if you can see it or not, it's really picking up the brush strokes, because I did brush on all the Georgies glazes, because that's pretty much how they come. So maybe you can't see it through the camera, but there are brush strokes there, so I'm not happy about that with this particular glaze. Probably not really going to use that again unless I do it over matte black. So this is a little bit of a mess. This is another Georgie's glaze, really just right here. This is glass that I put in here. It's like a little jewelry holder. This is Turquoise Lagoon, which is one of their textural sculptural glazes. Not very good at all. You really would be pretty limited as far as the use of this glaze. It's not food safe, which they tell you right away, but I mean the texture of it is so much like sandpaper. It's just not a glaze that I could really use for much of anything. Had a really bad reaction with the glass as well. I was expecting a smooth glaze there, so that's not going to be something I'd be doing again. So I had 2 T-bowls in this firing. Neither one of them really came out. This is the Emerald Wood Ash by Georgies again, pretty much just black. And maybe it's just the clay that I didn't get a lot of the green come out. But the overlap, because it's on top of Shino right here, the overlap onto Shino is really one of the best things with this entire kiln opening. It runs a little bit, and it's green and really kind of woodsy and interesting looking. This is light Shino that I put on top of the Shino, just kind of drizzled it on, and it kind of ran really nice. But unfortunately, that Emerald Wood Ash, if I'm getting it on camera, there's a lot of pitting and blistering there in a really kind of bad way. So it's not really going to be a food safe piece, and maybe I could glaze it again and refire, maybe put some other glaze on top, maybe Shino on top of it, I don't know. But, you know, it could be a glaze just for the outside of a piece, even though it is kind of pitted. It's sort of interesting looking. That's what's on this piece as well. This one came out a little bit better, had a little bit nicer finish look to it on the surface. More sort of satin looking. So that piece I really do like. I like the way that came out. It has the Shino on the inside by itself, which of course is really, really fantastic. Just haven't used Shino that much, and on this clay I'm just shocked that it came out so nice. So this is Jade Celadon by Amaco. And the other T-bowl had a nice little disaster there where it hit the kiln shelf. So this is Bamboo Ash by Lagoon. That came out fantastic. And I wished I had done the entire T-bowl just in that. But I have this glaze by Mayco called Alabaster. It is a sort of a dull matte, a little bit of a satin finish really, just white. And it pitted really terrible. It actually, when I dipped the glaze, it didn't want to stay on the piece, and you can kind of see at the bottom where you have those lines. It's because it was cracking over the bamboo ash. I figured it was pretty safe to fire because the bamboo ash underneath might kind of pull it down, and it did. So it all stayed on, but just tons of pitting and blistering, which you won't be able to see at all, but it's just not going to be food safe. I don't know why I'm getting so much of this happening. I've done everything I can think to do in a manual kiln. So, otherwise that would have been a really good T-bowl. You can see how the pull of that alabaster on top of the bamboo ash was so nice. And I got a bunch of dripping, which kind of mimics the, either gas-fired or wood-fired look. And this piece was a refire. It's a disaster as well. It was better before I refired it. It is Pale Seaweed by Standard Ceramic on the outside. And it just has a ton of blistering. And they're sharp. It's not on the interior. That blue is by Mayco, and I can't remember the name of it. I don't care for it that much, but when I refired it at Cone 6, it had a much nicer textural look to it. You can kind of see that in the camera. I can't remember what it's called. We could go look on the shelf over there in a minute and see that. I'm not real happy with it. It's probably not a glaze I'm going to use that much, but I really do like textured seaweed, or the pale seaweed, but it really, for some reason on this piece, it just blistered, and usually I use it on flat pieces like tiles, and I have not had this problem. So I don't know if it has something to do with the vertical, the pulling of it, that I'm getting that problem, that I'm getting bubbling, but not too sure what to do about that. This is a good example of Sapphire Celadon by Coyote. I did it as a single fire, so this was greenware when I applied the glaze. It's a little bit streaky. I wasn't too thrilled with that. Maybe the glaze just pooled. But you can see here how the pooling of the Celadon glaze really has a jewel-like appearance to it. It's a really interesting glaze, especially for a Celadon to do something like that. And that is by Coyote. And this was done at Cone 6, which they recommend doing. So I have one more little jewelry bird bath piece here, and that just had the Sapphire Celadon on the outside, Shino on the bottom. And I've been putting glass in these, and it's, you get kind of really mixed results with that. So, not happy with either of those bird bath pieces. So that's pretty much it for the kiln opening, and I'm just trying to figure out why I'm getting all this pitting and blistering, so hopefully at some point I will be able to figure it out. And that's about it for now. A little preview of a few pieces that are just made last night. Some little pendants here that kind of look sort of interesting, so hopefully I'll be able to glaze those well, show that off. And until next time, thank you for watching.